share some thoughts that perhaps you could get a chance to know a little bit about my son. He was a special neshama that Hashem gave us to be able to have for 25 years. And it's very clear that Hashem gave us this neshama for this amount of time. And there are a couple of lessons that we learned from him that stood out very strongly. And I thought I would take these couple of minutes to share with you one of those lessons. One of the main lessons that we learned from him is to be able to be happy or to be positive, even under very difficult and diverse, challenging situations. The truth is that Dovi was always a very easygoing guy and a very positive young man. And we always saw that as part of his natural teva. He was easygoing. It was very hard to get him too upset. Even when we schlepped him from one city to the next, we took him from Detroit, we brought him to Milwaukee, and then from Milwaukee he ended up being in Chicago, and then we went back to Milwaukee, and then we brought him to Israel. He was always very good natured. But when he got sick, we saw his natural teva, his natural nature of being positive, became a choice. And he actively and with a lot of strength chose to be strong. So I was very surprised because that was not something that I had seen that in him before. And we really wanted to figure out what was his secret, right? How does he do that? It's easy to be positive when things are going well or not too hard, but how do you be positive even when things are going bad? And throughout the entire time that he got sick, and even as he became, he lost different abilities, he never got angry. He would get sad. He would get sad at times, and particularly when he had to start using crutches or when he had to start using a wheelchair, he would get sad, but he always bounced back. So I asked him one time, what's your secret? What are you thinking? How do you do that? So he said two thoughts. The first thought he said was that
I felt when I found out that I have ALS is I felt sad, and it sort of felt sick to my stomach because it is a life-threatening disease, and it's just something scary to live with. I sort of thought to myself that I really have only two choices. Either you could be happy and live with it, or you could be sad and live with it. So I chose to be happy and live with it.
And it was such a simple thought, but such a hard thought, such a profound thought. To know that there's a difficulty, and the difficulty you can't change. You're not going to be able to change whether this is what's happening or not. But I'm gonna choose to be happy anyways because that's the only thing I can do. I can either be happy or I can be sad. And he said, I'm going to choose to be happy. We thought that's an amazing lesson. And each of us have tried to think about that and think about how there are ways that we can try and incorporate that in ourselves, right? We all encounter difficulties. Mitzvah Shem, no one should ever encounter anything like this. But we all have our difficulties we encounter. And sometimes we're not always so gracious about it. It's hard to accept it. So that was one lesson. I thought that was something that we could share. And if people would be willing to try and take that on to some extent, that would be a schus for him. The second thing he said was that when he when he lost an ability, right? When he was no longer able to walk, or when he was no longer able to use his hands, he said, instead of focusing on what I don't have, he said, I want to focus on what I still do have. And I still have many things I have. I have my family, I have my ability to be with each other. And no matter what happens, I'm going to try and look at the good things, what I still have. Again, a very simple thought, perhaps, but very difficult to accomplish. And I think he has been a role model to us in doing that, and that's what enabled us to really take care of him and required us to be positive, because if Simcha Dov is happy, then we can't be unhappy. We can't be sad. He's being able to be taken in a positive way. It didn't allow us to be down about the situation. So he kind of taught us to be able to, even though we were all going through a difficult time, to be able to look at it in a positive way. So if there could be something that perhaps others can learn from him and take on to try and either choose to be happy or to be able to look at the positive when there are many things that may not be positive, but to find the positive anyways, that would be a schus for his neshama, and something that we could all benefit if we could grow in those areas.